Hey, what's up, YouTube? Scott's Sconnie Tradition. This is my response, I guess, to my own contest, just so you guys have a template of kind of what I'm looking for. Um, so, my family history. Basically, I am a mutt, you know. Uh, so, my dad was, or still is, 100% German. So, I'm 50% German. And on my mom's side, her dad was 100% Polish, so my grandpa, which makes me 25% Polish. And then my mom's mother, so my grandma, would be Swedish, Norwegian, and English. So essentially, I'm 50% German, 25% Polish, and then Swedish, Norwegian, and English mixed into that other 25%. So I'm a little bit of everything. Although the town that I grew up in was definitely very heavily Polish oriented. So I definitely have a lot of that influence from growing up. I grew up in a really rural area, small town in Wisconsin. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my background, my family history. Um, my grandparents, uh, on my mom's side, my grandparents basically moved here from Poland. That'd be my great grandparents back in the late 1800s, and they had a dairy farm essentially for my grandpa was the youngest of several kids. I think there was at least 10 kids in the family, and they had a dairy farm, and they've had that farm up until I was about 8 or 9 years old. I want to say maybe I was a little younger when they had gotten rid of the farm, but that was essentially a big part of my upbringing. And then on my dad's side, his parents had moved here from Ohio somewhere. They moved to Wisconsin. Um, I think it was just after my dad was born, so it had been in the early '60s sometime. So that's kind of my lineage. Kind of interesting. And then, do I have an interesting family story? Well, yes, I sort of do. I think, and basically, it involves my stepdad. So my parents got a divorce when I was 4 years old, and then my mom married my stepdad. They've been married for over 25 years, and so my stepdad's name is Ray, and his uncle, his name was Einer, and Einer was a recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor. So that's something that's really neat. So always hearing those stories about him. He basically fought in the Korean War, and let me show you a picture quick of Einer here, just so you guys can kind of know what I'm talking about. Um, so this was him. His name was Einer Ingman, and this was basically a picture of him with the Congressional Medal of Honor from Korea. And I have one more picture I'd like to share. That was him getting his Congressional Medal of Honor from President Harry S. Truman. And he was in the army in Korea, fought near Multari, Korea. And so basically the story goes like this. He was part of an assault on a heavily fortified position, and both of the commanding officers in that assault were injured or killed, and he basically took command of the two units that were leading the assault and charged the machine gun embankment and um, basically killed all the soldiers in that encampment, the enemy soldiers. And then at that time, another encampment kind of opened up fire on him, and a piece of shrapnel severed his left ear, clear off his head. And he was also shot in the face, went through his mouth, and kind of off out that left ear where he was injured, and fell to the ground. And then he got up and charged that encampment and killed all the enemy soldiers in that encampment as well with just his rifle. And then eventually fell to his wounds. And the remaining soldiers in this fortified position, the enemy soldiers, threw down their arms and retreated. And he basically woke up about a week later in a Tokyo, Japan hospital, and was given less than a year to live essentially just because of his wounds. I think he had like 23 surgeries due to his wounds, and basically was cited for the Congressional Medal of Honor because of it. So it's just a very interesting story to hear, true story of courage, and the fact that he was not a commanding officer and he just kind of spur of the moment took control and led to uh, enemy soldiers retreating from their positions, and also saved the lives of probably several men that would have been getting smoked with machine guns at the time. So he basically moved back to small town Wisconsin, was a mail clerk and a security guard for over 30 years, and he actually just passed away in 2015. There's actually some articles about it if you want to search for the name Einar Ingman, and just truly a remarkable man. He actually ended up outliving his wife, who passed away in 2011, and he lived all these years later. He was 85 years old, and they only given him like a year to live. I think he's seen the inauguration of like 8 different U.S. presidents or something like that, which is crazy. Because they usually have invite the Congressional Medal of Honor recipients for those inaugurations. So just kind of a truly remarkable story, and I'm always, like I said, I'm a student of history, and I love learning about stuff like that. So that's kind of a little family history that we have in our family. So yeah, I hope to hear. I don't care what kind of family history story you have. I think it's all interesting. It's all cool, and I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to hear a little bit more, like I said, about what your makeup is, where you're from, where your mom and dad are from, your grandparents, that kind of thing. Super interesting to me. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the contest, and I can't wait to see your videos. Thanks.